You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
You get up on stage and you get given a company name, a target. You're allowed to prepare, and then you have to elicit about 20 to 30 pieces of information from this company over the phone, live in front of the audience in 20 minutes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CyberWire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, the phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner from the CyberWire, and joining me is Joe Kerrigan from the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
We got some good stories to share this week, and later in the show, Carole Theriault returns. She's speaking with Chris Kirsch. He's the DefCon 25 Social Engineering Capture the Flag winner. All right, Joe, let's go ahead and jump into some stories this week.
All right.
Mine comes from CPOmagazine.com, and it's titled, Nigerian Threat Actors Skip Social Engineering, Make Direct Pitches to Employees to Install Ransomware on Company Networks. And it's...
They're not wasting any time.
Cut
Dave.
out the middleman, right?
Right.
This is written by Scott Ikeda. And really what they're pointing out here is a bold plan from some scammers, and they think they are coming from, well, let me ask you, Joe, guess a country that you think these scammers are coming from.
Well, Dave, you've already tipped your hand here. I'm going to guess Nigeria.
Oh, that's right. It was in the title, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, boy. Nothing gets by you, Joe.
Right.
So, yes, you are correct. They are from Nigeria.
Uh-huh.
And so, as we said, they're sort of cutting out the middleman here. They're going out on LinkedIn, and they reach out to folks on LinkedIn, and they start with just a nice little salutation to begin with, not tipping their hand.
Uh-huh.
But once they get someone on the hook, basically they offer them a commission for installing ransomware on their corporate network.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of brazen.
It is indeed. This story says that they're offering 40% of the proposed ransom amount. The proposed ransom amount, I will add, is $1 million.
Right.
If the employee is willing to install the demonware ransomware, either physically or remotely, and then if you follow up, they give you an Outlook email address or a Telegram username to reply to. They say that the attackers, they have typical broken English,
right?
Not passable English, but not great, which of course tips their hand. And shocker, Joe, shocker of shockers, they don't really follow through with their promised payments.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Now, Dave, I'll tell you, I think that's a mistake on their part, because if they actually paid the people, they might actually be successful.
Yeah. Well, they said, I don't know. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. But they said in a follow-up, for example, that they would pay out $120,000 in response to a company turning over $50 million. And this is... So some folks got in here, and I should mention, these are researchers from a company called Abnormal Security.
Okay.
They're the ones who uncovered all of this.
Right.
So they're researchers engaged with these presumably Nigerian hackers.
Right.
And as they went down the path, they were offered $120,000 to hack a company for $50 million.
Oh, there's no way I'm going in for that small of a fee.
That's right. Everybody has their price, Joe.
Right. Yeah, you're going for $50 million. I want at least 20 of that $50 million if I'm going to be your guy on the inside.
There you go.
And you know what? Half in advance, please.
Right. Yeah, see? Turn it around on them.
Right.
Yeah. Just take the half and then ditch them.
Yep.
The attackers they also say that they're the developers of demonware ransomware. They're not. The code is publicly available on GitHub.
Okay.
So, not surprisingly, no honor among thieves here. But I really think this is noteworthy because of the brazenness, as we say here. They're not trying to fish people or get into their email accounts. They're just going directly to them and saying, hey, be our partner in crime here, and everybody's going to profit.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're an organization, I mean, this is a classic insider threat problem.
Right.
How do you deal with something like this? I guess it's protecting your systems against the installation of ransomware, no matter where it comes
malicious
from.
insider threat.
Yeah.
Well, an endpoint protection system is going to be key here. Make sure you have tools that detect viruses or malicious software on your computer.
Right.
And then report that up to some central system to raise alerts. More importantly, I mean, this should be part of every company's system is you should have auditing, right? So that if it becomes apparent that one of your people is an insider threat, that you have the forensic artifacts to detail their activities and possibly prosecute them criminally.
Yeah.
So that's really, I say I'm in for $10 million. I'm not in for this at all, right? I mean, because
right.
I know my price was $20 million. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me be lucidly clear on that.
Okay.
There is a lot of prison time waiting for somebody who does this, particularly here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If they can prove it.
Right. But here we go again, right? It's greed.
Right. Absolutely.
Somebody's on their way out the door. They're not happy with where they're working, and they're thinking, this is the compensation package I've been waiting for.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And of course, it's not going to end up well for them.
No,
at all.
It's not. If they get caught, they're doing a lot of time.
Yeah. I guess another lesson here is just if you get these sort of unsolicited messages on a place like LinkedIn, any of the social platforms, just don't bother replying to them.
Yeah, don't even engage with them.
Let them go.
Leave them be.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, again, we'll have a link to that story in the show notes. That's from CPO Magazine. Joe, what do you have for us this week?
Dave, I'm going on a trip soon. Well, don't worry, dear listeners. I will be back by the time this episode is released, so don't try robbing my house.
Well, they would not make it past your vicious guard dog.
That's
anyway.
right. Guard dogs. I have two of them.
Right.
And they will give you the licking of a lifetime.
Oh, don't tempt me, Joe. Don't tempt me.
Matt Karsten has a website called The Expert Vagabond. And he has a story recently that he put up on travel scams. Now, my trip is going to be domestic, but these are all focused remotely, for international travel.
Okay.
Things that happen in other countries don't really happen that much in the U.S., but I thought some of them are interesting.
Yeah.
These are some of his, the article's pretty good. He actually goes into details about how he may have fallen for some of these at some point in time or tried to be targeted by them. The first one is the broken taxi meter scam.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
You get to the airport and you say, I need to go to the hotel.
Right.
Or if you're Steve Martin, you say, I would like to go to the hotel.
Right.
And the cab driver says, all right, but my meter's broken, so you're just going to have to pay what I ask you to pay. All right. This is a scam.
Okay.
Right? You should either at that point in time start negotiating a price then, right? Or get out of the cab and find another cab, or get a shuttle to the hotel from the hotel. Ask the hotel if they have shuttle service.
Okay.
From the airport.
What's the scam?
The scam is that when you get there, they go, okay, that's $100.
Oh.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And that if you don't pay, they threaten legal action because, in most countries, not paying a cab fare is a crime.
Sure.
Right. So they've kind of got you. You don't, so either, I would say either just get out of the cab. That would be my response. Oh, your meter's broken? Well, we can't ride with you then.
Yeah.
Just go on to the next cab.
I guess also they're taking advantage of the fact that you're a stranger in a strange town.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're already feeling a little, perhaps a bit timid because of that.
Yep.
You're out of your element.
Yep.
Interesting.
All that applies.
Yeah. What else?
The closed or overbooked hotel. This is another thing that happens with cab drivers. You get in, you say, take me to this hotel, and they go, oh, that hotel is closed for renovations. And you say, I have a reservation. No, there's nobody going to that hotel. And then they take you to another hotel that provides them with a kickback and probably cost you more.
Huh.
So have you ever heard of that one?
No, I have not.
Matt says that he's never fallen for this one, but he's had 2 or 3 drivers try to pull it on him. And
seems to me that one would be harder to get away with in the era of mobile devices, where you could call the hotel and say, hey, are you open or not?
And that's the advice. Call your hotel in advance, make sure they're open.
Right.
And when the cab driver says that they're closed, just say, you know what, just take me to the hotel.
Yeah. Or take a different cab.
Yeah. Spills on your clothing. This is one we've kind of talked about before, or similar to ones we've talked about before. And actually, one of the things that I've said, this is absolutely how people could get me.
Okay.
We've talked about the scam of the mustard on the kid, right?
Right.
You have a kid with you and somebody somehow smears mustard on the kid and then the kid comes up to you and you're like, oh my God, my kid has this on him.
Yeah.
You're in a crowded place. You start cleaning the kid, and while you're bending over cleaning the kid, someone picks your pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a very similar one. The person is walking, maybe they have a hot dog, right?
Okay.
Or maybe they have some coffee or something. I don't know. But they bump into you and they mess up your clothing, and then they start wiping your clothing down, right? So what they're doing is they're touching you and getting you accustomed to being touched. We had Brandon, I can't remember Brandon's last name, but he was a magician and a sleight of hand expert. He said that's one of the things he starts doing is he touches people to get them accustomed to being touched.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy reaches in and picks your pocket. Fake police scams. This one's terrifying to me.
Go on.
Right? So first off, a person approaches you while you're in a foreign land and they say, hey man, you want to buy some drugs? Right? And you being like the stand-up citizen go, well, what kind of drugs? No. You say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in buying drugs or doing any time in your prisons.
Right.
And just then, two more people come out of the crowd dressed as police officers and arrest the guy who tried to sell you drugs. And then they turn to you and go, hey, he was asking you, give me your passport and your identification, your wallet. Right?
Oh.
And they start like strong-arming you.
Yeah.
Matt says that you request that these people show their identification, and then you say, I don't have my passport. It's locked up back at the hotel. We can go back and get it. And if they refuse to comply with that, you can walk away. Another solution I read for this is to say, you know what? Why don't we just go down to the police station and I'll establish my identity there, right? Usually that causes people to disappear. Right? Because the police don't appreciate impersonators.
Right. That reminds me of the advice that if you're driving, for example, and a police officer, lights up their lights behind you and you feel as though it's not right, it just doesn't feel right, you should just drive to the nearest police station. Right. And deal with it there. You
can also call 911 here in the States and say, I'm getting pulled over. Around here, there is a police officer that drives an unmarked car that I absolutely would not pull over for.
Yeah.
It's like a Hyundai, and it has LEDs in it. And I've seen this guy standing with other police officers, so I'm pretty sure he's a police officer.
Yeah.
But I'm not pulling over for that car.
Right.
I'm calling 911, and I'm going, look, I think somebody impersonating a police officer is trying to pull me over. Can you please send a uniformed police officer to pull me over?
Right. And say, yes, sir, Mr. Kerrigan. In fact, we'll send 12.
Right, yeah. That's fine. That's fine. But I don't think there's a jury in the world that would convict me of evading a police officer when they see a picture of a Hyundai with LEDs in the front of it.
Sure.
I'm not pulling over for that. That's a safety risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The friendly ATM helper. Right? You walk up to an ATM, and of course, there's no English written on it.
Okay.
Right? So somebody offers to help you. And what they're there to do is actually, they might even direct you to another ATM that actually has one of their skimmers on it.
Oh.
And then their a skimmer is a device that will read the information off of the magnetic strip of your ATM card. And they will then watch you as you enter your PIN. And Matt says, don't let anybody be around you.
Yeah, I think that's something that intimidates me about foreign travel is dealing with the money. The conversion rates, especially places that have very different, values of their money, right? Where, 10,000 of something is worth $1 or, something like that. In other words, I think I could be vulnerable in that situation because of my lack of confidence in things like exchange rates and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and you need cash to get around a lot of countries because not everybody there. It's not like in the U.S. where we have, every merchant has Square, right? Or some other payment means that they can accept a credit card.
Right.
They're going to want cash for their goods.
Yeah.
The group photo offer is another good one, right? If you're with a group, somebody says, do you guys want me to take your picture? And you're like, yeah. And then you're standing there and he keeps backing up and backing up and backing up and eventually just turns around and takes off with your camera. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. I saw one where it was a team of scammers and they were targeting tourists who had high-end cameras, DSLRs.
Right.
and they would come in and they would distract them. And while they were distracting this person, they would steal the lens off of their DSLR.
Really?
Because some of
lens
these
is expensive.
Some of these lenses are thousands of dollars.
Right.
And so somebody has a nice lens, and so the person still has the camera hanging around their neck.
Yeah.
But by the time these folks are gone, that they look down and the lens is gone.
Right. And that lens comes off with like a quarter turn, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty easy to remove it.
Yeah. I mean, if you know what you're doing, absolutely.
Yeah. And these scammers know what they're doing.
They do indeed.
They probably run a camera shop.
Right. Yeah. Used lenses
Right.
are us.
Here's a big one. And we've talked about this one before plenty of times. Fake Wi-Fi hubs. Open Wi-Fi. You should never use that while traveling.
Yeah.
Except the fact that you're going to be in a foreign country and may not be able to communicate as readily. And if you can't afford to do that, maybe you don't go. I don't know.
This is an interesting one because I've seen some folks, some knowledgeable security folks say recently that this may be overstated because we're at the point now where a high enough percentage of our information is encrypted by default with our web browsing that really takes most of the risk out of something like this.
And if they try to do a man-in-the-middle attack, nowadays it's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. It's good advice, though. I mean,
I still don't connect to these things. I use my phone.
Yep. Good advice.
Cheap enough.
Yeah.
This one's interesting, and when I did research for this episode today, I found a couple other variations of this one, but this is the motorbike rental damage scam. Right? So you rent a motorbike for somebody.
Yep.
And when you bring the motorbike back, there's been some damage that's been inflicted to it, usually like a slit seat.
Oh.
Right? And the guy at the rental place insists that you pay an exorbitant price for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There is another one I saw that was about jet ski damage. Right? You come back and there's some kind of damage. Maybe the damage was there before, but in this instance, other people were in on the scam and they would get around the person who rented the jet ski and then essentially march them to an ATM to withdraw the money to pay for it.
Wow.
So it's a risky proposition, I guess. I don't know what you do in this situation. I think you get law enforcement involved as soon as you can, but who knows? In some countries they may be in on it.
Well, like when you rent a car,
right?
A lot of times there'll be a little chart on the rental the rental form that has a picture of the car, and they'll mark off if there's any dings on the car or anything like that. I could see, like in a motorbike situation, you take some pictures before you head off with it,
right? With
the person who's renting it, in the frame, so that you can document that this was the condition of this thing when I left this place,
right? And
then at the very least, taking that extra effort will probably have them leave you alone.
Yes.
They'll move on to an easier target.
Right. In one of these scams, what they say is they actually have somebody from the rental organization go out and slit the seat of the motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then charge you an exorbitant fee for it.
Oh.
And what that means is they're just essentially selling motorcycle seats for a high price because those things pop right off and you put a new one on.
Right.
And they probably have an organization back there putting new...
the guy in the shop next door.
Right.
Motorcycle seats are us.
Exactly.
Is in on the thing.
Yep.
That's fascinating. All right. One more?
One more. Gemstone or carpet deals. You meet up with a guy who says, I have a very lucrative side business selling jewelry or gemstones. If you get these back to the United States, you could sell them for a huge profit.
Yeah.
Of course, all of these things are fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's selling you a bunch of cut glass. And when you're on vacation, no matter how good the deal is, remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
They're not going to sell a bunch of underpriced diamonds or rubies or whatever to just some guy they just met.
Right.
They're going to they're going to make more money on that selling it to somebody who's legitimate. So that's probably a scam.
Yeah. Yeah. Tourist destinations are not known for their great deals and shopping. And,
yes.
The jewelry store in the resort hotel probably not. Probably not the best deals.
Ooh, I love that piece. We are not buying that piece here.
Yeah. But that's not what they're about,
Right.
So, I guess if you know what you're in for and you can afford it, well, then so be it. But just word to the wise, right?
Yep.
All right. Lots of interesting stuff here. So we will have a link to that in the show notes, as always. Joe, it is time to move on to our catch of the day.
Dave, our catch of the day comes from Reddit. The user has a name that's unpronounceable. So
Right, okay.
We'll just put a link in the show notes.
Fair enough.
If it's still there. But this user looks to have gotten some text messages from someone calling themselves Harnike Crush. And there is a picture of a very attractive blonde woman in as a profile picture.
Yep.
And Dave, as always, why don't you play the very attractive blonde woman, and I will play the person that that this person was trying to scam.
All right. Hey, how are you doing today? Good evening. How are you doing today? Hello? What's going on? Are you there?
I'm good, thanks.
Nice. How was your day? Why? Are you busy?
My day was good. Yours? I'm cooking dinner right now, so yes, very busy.
Oh, so when will you be free? How many minutes will that take?
An hour.
Okay. You told me just an hour now. Until today, you never text back. What up?
Sorry, I got busy with other things and forgot.
Okay, it's fine. So, good morning. How are you doing today? How was your night?
I'm good today. How are you?
Am just good. Hope all is well with you.
Did you sleep well?
Yes. And where you from? What state and city you in?
So I don't share that kind of information with anyone I just met on here. I hope you understand.
Yes, but what bad? What bad knowing the state you are? Is it bad? Why, what are you trying to say?
I'm saying that there are too many scammers on here to trust anyone initially.
Okay, so not forcing you to be here. Why do you have the app and still use it?
I'm just here to meet new people and make friends, that's all.
So why are you saying scam?
But certain private information will always stay private.
If you make friends, won't they ask where you are from? There is not effing private. I can't be your friend and know your darn place. It's stupid to me.
Sure, but if they're genuinely interested in being friends, they'll understand that it takes time to build trust.
Yes, it is, but not as you are shingles, saying, you want to be friends, I have to know many, and I will ask.
Why is it so important for you to know?
Then block me if you don't want to tell, because I will ask, I most surely know.
You can ask, it doesn't bother me. Just know that I won't answer certain personal questions until I know you can be trusted.
Okay, then F off.
Nice to meet you too, scammer.
Nice to meet you, effing dog scammers. F you, a-hole whore. Blocking you off my page.
And that's where it ends.
That took a turn, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I mean, that took a really bitter turn towards the end.
My goodness.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, Joe, you get more flies with honey.
Yeah, I mean, this guy could have taken a little bit of time and built some rapport. And then, because it's obviously, first off, I love how you do the voice of someone who's been smoking Marlboros for the past 20 years.
Yes, this is like Lucille Ball in her later years, right?
Exactly. Because I'm pretty sure this is not an attractive blonde woman on the other end of this conversation.
No, good. Yes, I would bet on that. Yeah,
probably a safe bet.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is our catch of the day. We would love to hear from you. If you have something you'd like us to share, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@thecyberwire.com. All right, Joe, Carole Theriault is back. She always brightens things up around here, doesn't she?
Hello, Carole. Yes, she does. Often when I'm typing, I hear things in Carole's voice.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, maybe you should talk to your doctor about that.
Maybe I should.
She is bringing us her interview with Chris Kirsch, and he was the winner of the DefCon 25 Social Engineering Capture the Flag. Here's Carole Theriault.
Today, I would like to welcome Chris Kirsch to Hacking Humans. Chris has been in the cyber world for over 20 years. He's worked all over the world and is an expert on encryption, hacking, and he's the co-founder of Rumble.Run. Now, Chris is also a winner of DefCon's SECTF.
SECTF. Think social engineering, capture the flag. Yeah.
Which I know nothing about that. So Chris, thanks so much for joining me today. Let's first talk about DefCon and getting this black badge. Tell me about that.
Sure, I'd love to. So DefCon is one of the world's biggest hacking conferences. I think it's actually the biggest one, about 30,000 people that fly into Vegas every year. Not right now.
But it's so huge, actually. It's amazing to think.
It is huge. They take up 3 entire big conference hotels in Vegas now. They started out a lot smaller, but it's just grown over the years. And DefCon has all of these different, what they call villages, different parts of the conference that specialize in different things. And one of those is the social engineering village, where they give talks on the topic of social engineering. But they also have this really cool competition that I participated in. I saw it in my first year and it just blew me away. And I just wanted to engage in that. So the competition is basically you get up on stage in front of about 1,000 people.
Okay.
And you get given a company name, a target. You're allowed to prepare. And then you have to elicit about 20 to 30 pieces of information from this company over the phone, live in front of the audience in 20 minutes.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun. It's nerve-wracking.
I bet.
First year, I did really well in the written part, but when I got up on stage, nobody picked up their phone because it was a Saturday afternoon. So I really bombed the first year, and I thought, I've already lost my dignity here.
Not your fault, though. Not your fault. Not your fault.
Yeah, I already lost my dignity, so what can go wrong? I'll go back next year. And so the following year went really well, and I won the competition, and that earned me what's called a black badge at DefCon. So that means it's, inflates my ego and then also get in for free. That's pretty much what it means.
So you can go in any year, anytime. You can just swan in. You're like VVVVIP.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
And I like
I'm glad we're
freebies,
friends, buddy. And when did this happen? When did you win this black badge?
God, this was DefCon 25, so the silver anniversary. And this was, I think, about 3 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
You're the perfect person to talk to because you basically play a bad guy, right? You're playing a scammer effectively. So where are we as people vulnerable? Like what works? How do you go through the mindset of winning trust from these victims?
Sure. So it actually starts out way before you pick up the phone. Because what I did is after I got the name of the target company, and this was that year, the topic was toy and gaming companies. So I had the name of a target and I had 3 weeks to research that target. So I went really deep on LinkedIn, on Glassdoor, on all sorts of sites to read everything I could find about this company and to understand the jargon that they're using internally, because every company's got their own language, to understand how they are organized, to find phone numbers of the different departments and what they care about, understand the company mission, understand what are hot topics for that company. And now, once you have a phone number, you can say, all right, if I target this particular person or department, then I have enough background to build a really credible story, something that we call a pretext. And so this OSINT, this open source intelligence, the research that I did up front is really helpful to build trust very quickly. So for example, when I called up, I called up a retail location that they had, because that was something that was open during my call time. And I just said, hey, I'm Mike so-and-so from Wilmington, because I knew that was where their headquarters was for the subsidiary of the company, right? So I don't even have to say I'm from this subsidiary, et cetera, et cetera. You just use, and that's what I mean by internal lingo. So I'm from Wilmington and I work on the ERP team. I have a quick question for you. Are you open right now? Do you have customers in the store? Because that is a question that they would answer even to like the average Joe customer who is calling in, right? Are you open right now? So I wanted to start out with something very simple that they would be comfortable asking. And then I say like, hey, I'm asking because I haven't gotten any bookings data from your POS systems, from your point of sale systems.
Using lingo again to try
using lingo again. And I think the person I had was like an assistant manager or maybe a security guard, something like that. Not at all trained on avoiding scammers on the phone. If you call a call center, a support center, something like that, they're usually trained. But these folks are in retail. They're possibly even minimum wage, right? They're not well trained on this kind of stuff. So that's why I targeted the store. And so I asked them, hey, can you check, does your store have internet access right now? Can you check Facebook, right? So again, I'm increasing my ask. But it's not a crazy ask. It's not a crazy jump. And so I increased it more and more and more until I got them to agree to basically receive a router that I'm going to send them as a replacement through FedEx, and they're going to plug it into the network and send me the old one, right? So if I can control what they plug into the network, I win, right? Because I have presence on the network.
Yeah.
I also got them to go to a website of my choice by saying, hey, can you help me? Just go to this website. It's a quick diagnostics tool to help us figure out what's wrong, right? Little asks for help are often responded to if you build rapport up front. And one technique I used right in the beginning when I called them was actually something that I call an artificial time constraint. So that means I told them that I only have a certain amount of time so that they don't feel that they have to get me off the phone, right? So what I told them is, hey, I wonder if you can help me with this. I only have 5 minutes because I have to pick up my kids.
That's so sneaky.
Right?
Yes.
And that actually also works really well in sales. Like if any folks listening are in sales, if you're doing cold calls and you're saying, hey, I'm sorry, I have a customer meeting in 5 minutes, but I just wanted to make sure I follow up with you on your white paper download to answer any questions that you may have, right? Now, the person on the other end doesn't think, oh my God, a sales guy, how do I get rid of him?
Yeah, and for the rest of us, when someone gives us an artificial time constraint, we know what's going on. Maybe.
But now they're thinking like, oh, okay, this guy's got to go. I don't have to worry about him keeping me here for ages, right? So I use that. So those are some of the small techniques.
Amazing. And all this info, listeners, can help us stay out of their way. This was Chris Kirsch. He's the co-founder of Rumble.Run and a recent Black Badge winner at DefCon. Chris, thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Joe, what do you think?
That's a great story. Very interesting to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
The Social Engineering Capture the Flag, or SECTF as it's called, is a DEF CON competition that's run by Christopher Hadnagy right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've had on this show, and he's the author of social engineering books that are really like the gold standard.
Yeah.
This competition is also the competition that Rachel Toback has won multiple times.
Yep.
Now, Chris Kirsch is on the show. So we've had multiple DEF CON winners of this, multiple Black Badge holders. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Whenever you win a DEF CON event, you get a Black Badge that entitles you to go into all the remaining DEF CONs. Every subsequent DEF CON, you just walk in with this badge. It's nice.
Well, that's swanky.
It is. There are two parts to this Capture the Flag event. The first part is an open source intelligence gathering, or OSINT part.
Yep.
And the second part is a vishing part. And in the OSINT part, you have to actually build a report and hand in a report on a company. And competitors have 3 weeks to complete this report. So it actually starts, this event starts before the DEF CON event starts.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the DEF CON event, you actually make the phone calls and try to get the information that you've been tasked with getting.
Right.
Chris talks about going to LinkedIn and Glassdoor to do his OSINT, target the company.
Yep.
But you can also look at Google, Facebook, Twitter, any open source resource that's available is going to have information about these things. A lot of times companies have presences on these social media platforms where they can, you can gather information about what they do and how they do it. And he determines the internal jargon of these companies, which I think is interesting. I'd like to know how he does that. He gets their organization. So a lot of times you can find org charts online.
Yep.
And then he finds their hot button issues. And once he has this information, he builds a pretext, which is the lie that he wants people to believe. And building that pretext is easier because of the amount of open source intelligence gathering he's done.
Right.
When it's very important for people to realize that when they are targeted by a social engineering attack, there has been all kinds of research that's gone into it beforehand. And not just a social engineering attack, just about any kind of cyber attack is going to start with open source intelligence gathering. And these attackers are going to do exactly that. They're going to gather all the information about your site. If they're going to do about your company rather, if they're going to do an actual like cyber attack, they're going to have a map of all your resources that are on the internet. They're going to know what's going on.
Right.
it's interesting. He talks about in this one case how he targeted somebody at a retail location because he knew that person was probably not going to be trained as well as the people at the corporate locations, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's going to get essentially got them to agree to hook up a router on their network, and essentially that would hook it right up to the corporate network.
Yeah.
So very interesting. One of the other key events or key pieces of information here is that he uses the artificial time constraint. Right? He's like, look, I got to go in 5 minutes, but I need your help right away. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, okay, I can help you for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's how this works. That's how this mental trick works. Also, he comes in saying that he's from the corporate office, but he uses the proper lingo, the proper jargon for getting that, to get him to drop their, I think it was Wilmington. He says, I'm from Wilmington.
Yeah.
So, like the headquarters. Because that's what they call the headquarters.
Right. And so he short circuits some of the suspicion that they might have.
Immediately gets the guard lowered.
Yep. All right. Well, interesting interview for sure. We appreciate Chris taking the time for us. And of course, thanks to Carole Theriault for joining us as well. That is our show. We want to thank all of you for listening. And of course, we want to thank the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute for their participation. You can learn more at isi.jhu.edu. The Hacking Humans podcast is proudly produced in Maryland at the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our senior producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpie. I'm Dave Bittner.
And I'm Joe Kerrigan.
Thanks for listening.